So, a chaplain's ethics,
Oh my goodness.
professionalism, boundaries, contacts, guardrails.
Guys, this was tough.
All right.
I did not want to teach this lesson.
Yeah, I know you didn't. So, Tony.
Yeah.
Why did it take 3 videos to teach this one course?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so first of all, we had to create the material, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to create the material. I mean, guys, we're doing this out of, we're doing this out of experience and background, but we're having to come up with this stuff from ground zero. And we're having to build all this content.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so what we did was we looked out into the world of chaplaincy and people in professional careers right next to chaplaincy, like counselors or professional therapists. And we looked at that whole field and we said, who's got the best material on a code of ethics for chaplains? Now, Fort Monmouth, that's the place I went. That's the base. Sorry, my brain just caught up.
In New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So I was at Fort Monmouth in New Jersey for my chaplain officer basic training, which is back in the day, because nowadays all the chaplain courses are taken at Fort Jackson in South Carolina. So I have all my material from that. And even if I didn't, you can download all of it online because it's government documents. You just do searches and you can find all this stuff. So I started there. And then I moved on to other government agency documents on code of ethics. And then I moved into the world of the church to see who had the very best code of ethics and conversation that's really had to struggle through this and come up with the best stuff. And then I went finally to the largest consortium of people doing professional work, either as chaplains or counselors or therapists or other professions, and from multiple denominations who have come up with a single code of conduct. And I just took all 3 of those and I said, let's take lessons from each one of these and let's put together the best we can come up with. Hence 3 videos.
Very good.
Yeah.
So what about boundaries?
All right. So boundaries was in the conversation that the government sets up for people doing the work, like the work of a chaplain. And the boundaries, this is so important. This is not something that we have come up. This is not our lingo. This is the world of the chaplaincy. You need to understand these words. Pluralism. Yeah. You need to know the word pluralism. You need to know the word spiritual needs. All these things we talked about in these lessons are things that are drilled into chaplains in any environment. And believe me, by finishing this course, you will have the same education that I received going through these other organizations. And by the way, I mean, my resume is online. You can see where I'm from, but I've got a lot of extensive knowledge in these things and experience. Not as much experience as others, but I have all the same education and such and so forth. So, okay, sorry for throwing that out there.
Okay, no, it's good.
Okay, so boundaries. The government talks about boundaries.
Yeah.
There are boundaries that we don't cross professionally. So professionally, if I'm in a conversation with Tom here as a counselor, I'm not going to get distracted in my dialogue with a story of me on a date with my wife because he brought up something about his wife and it brings to mind something about my wife, and I just go off on some tangent. It's not professional, right? You stay within the boundary of the professional relationship you have with a client.
Right.
You stay within the boundaries of the professional relationship you have with your client. So you've just got to always keep that in mind.
Right.
Okay. Do you want your dentist talking to you about his golf game the whole time he's doing your teeth?
Right.
I mean, okay. Do you want your doctor discussing their backpacking trip the whole time and never discussing your situation? Yeah. Focus. Stay focused.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So there are boundaries you can cross in your relationship with clients. And what you do when you cross a boundary is you correct it. You get back inside your relationship with them professionally.
Right.
But a boundary violation means you've gone way outside the boundaries and you've done something bad. You've taken your role and you have abused your privilege, your the trust that you have with somebody because of your role, and you've abused it and you've violated your relationship with them. That's the kind of thing that can get you fired, and definitely put on probation with National Service Charity. Definitely will require a conversation or two with visiting chaplains,
Right.
and puts you in a bad way. And when that happens, don't cover it up. Cover-ups are worse than the crime. Okay, so you mess up, you fess up. You let us know.
Yep.
Okay.
Indeed. So important. Yep. So,
by the way, this is the government's lingo, guys. This is not some religious group coming up with our lingo that now you have to embrace. This is the lingo that you need to understand and abide by. Yep. You have to have as a framework in your mind.
Indeed.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, we're back.
Yes. All right. So, Tony, what's this whole concept, this idea around slippery slope?
All right, slippery slope is a government lingo for keeping yourself out of trouble. So you need to just have in mind that the government has language called slippery slope. Slippery slope concept is how they call it. And it is what your mom and dad taught you when you were young. Don't take the first step. And if you're on a series of steps where you have taken your professional relationship with somebody, and originally you were doing great chaplain work and figuring out what their spiritual needs were and helping them find answers, and now you're meeting them for lunch outside the work, and then later on you're going to movies with them, you're kind of going on dates with them, and this is the kind of thing where you're walking down a path that is going to end by you crossing a boundary violation. You're not just doing boundary crossings. Most of what you're doing when you're on a slippery slope is crossing of boundaries, but you're getting ready to make a violation that's going to put you in a unemployable. It's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt you.
It's going to hurt the person. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt the organization.
It's going to hurt everything. That's right.
Right.
Imagine a secular organization having to deal with the moral lapse of their chaplain. Guys, this is so dangerous for ministry.
Yeah.
Don't let this happen.
Yeah. Call us, take a hiatus, get some spiritual, help from your faith distinctive, from your faith group. Call us, but do not go down that slippery slope.
Yeah, you find yourself in the middle of a slippery slope where you're getting ready to make some really bad choices.
Right.
Just be honest.
Yep.
Just call us.
Right.
Call us.
Yeah.
Call visiting chaplains. Call National Service Charity. Call your endorsing church.
Right.
And say, hey, I'm struggling with what I should do. For instance, Tom, if you were still single and you were acting as a chaplain in a company, and there was a beautiful young lady there, and maybe her name's Cindy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Cindy.
Yeah. And and so you wanted to date her. What would you do?
Wow. I would not date her, or I'd give up my chaplaincy in that organization.
Yeah, you don't have to resign as a chaplain.
Yeah.
But in that organization.
Yeah, but no, I would either I couldn't date her, I wouldn't date her, or I would find somebody else to be the chaplain in that group, in that organization. And then after all that's completed, then I could pursue a relationship. But it would be wrong for me to be pursuing a relationship while acting as a chaplain within that organization.
Because your professional boundaries would limit your relationship with her.
That's right.
From being romantic.
That's right.
Or personal. to a professional relationship.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
By the way, I think I mentioned in the lesson that I married a girl where I was pastoring,
Yeah.
but I had to ask permission of the church leadership and the church board to get permission to date somebody in the life of the church. And I think I mentioned in the lesson that my dad ran a property management company, and there was a rule, a policy that you could not go to a property as a property visit where the tenant was there and you're the property manager, meet somebody and date them as also being their property manager.
Yeah.
And we had a girl who wanted to date somebody, so she quit her job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cindy and I did this when we were we ran a Bible college for a number of years, and we just had it as a rule, a boundary for us and all the staff that we were never in a room, and I mean in a room, one of the classrooms or in an office room, alone with a member of the opposite sex. If that was the case, if we found ourselves in a room, we just made sure the door was open. And in fact, when we had our first build out in our first school we ever had, we made sure and put windows on all the doors. We had them, so we just don't want that issue. We don't want to be dealing with that kind of stuff. So
these are the big do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
By the way, of working as a professional in any space, and
Yeah.
really doesn't just apply to chaplains. I'm a part of Boy Scouts, and it's called the 2 deep rule. You're with a kid, there's another adult there. You're never alone with a minor.
That's good.
Ever.
That's good.
And it's not because it's some faith reason.
Right.
It's just wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never get caught alone. You never put yourself in those kind of compromise, and in those situations where you could be slandered. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where a story can be told that you can't prove your innocence.
Right.
Okay. So you're never alone with a minor. You're not in social media relationship with somebody else's kid. You can be in a Snapchat or a Facebook relationship with someone else's child if the parent gives you permission, and your professional relationship with them is always the boundaries of your relationship with that minor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. In this lesson, we talked about a lot of tough conversations. We talked about if you're struggling with other topics like pornography or other very compromising issues, you need to be very, very careful that you do not let any of that kind of stuff, whatever the problems are in your life that you haven't overcome yet, never, ever can it bleed over into your employment and your life as a chaplain. Guys, it's so important you get spiritual victory on these things.
So yeah, and as a minister and a chaplain, but as a minister and a chaplain, if you're struggling with any type of issues, regardless of what it is, that's why it's so important to have community. And it goes back to the spiritual needs, but we need community. So if you're having issues, you need to have somebody that you can talk to, that you can go get some of this stuff straightened out. And it's we don't want to find out about it on the bad end of something happening, on a violation,
boundary violation,
that
big deal,
that government word, that government concept, that boundary violation. We don't want to learn about it on that side of it. We'd much rather you take care of that with your faith group, with your church, with your community of faith, or if you need to, with us, or with visiting chaplains if needed be, but that endorsing church or that community, get it handled on that side. You shouldn't have a group of people that you can be totally open and honest with and get encouragement for any kind of situation that you're dealing with. So we highly want to encourage you, take this stuff seriously, because again, we don't want it affecting you, ruining your life, or ruining somebody else's life, or ruining the organization because of, again, like Tony said, here you are coming in this capacity as a chaplain in this organization, and now there's a big question mark on the morality of the chaplain, or the chaplain's group. So again, be handling that with your church organization, your endorsing organization, or if you need to, call us. I mean, but get help.
2 more topics in this lesson. One was related to confidentiality. You have to be very careful with what people share with you as a minister. Here's the problem as a chaplain, though. There are going to be lots of chaplains working in visiting chaplains that are not ordained. If you're ordained, the law applies to what people share with you legally, where you don't have to share it in court if it was given in confidence in a moment of an act of ministry where you were listening to them give you this information as a chaplain or as a minister. Okay, but if you're a chaplain who's not ordained, then the laws of confidentiality don't apply to you. And you could be compelled in a legal environment to disclose what that person shared with you. I'm simply mentioning this because it's a complicated topic if it's not something you've thought through in the past, and it has to do less with you being a chaplain and more with you being an ordained minister. And so that's really important you understand the difference. And if you need clarification on that, send us an email. The last topic on this lesson that was really important that we all understand was, here it is. Do you have to report yourself if you make a boundary violation? Or do you have to report another chaplain if you see them do something really bad? Honestly, what would you do, Tom?
Well, self-correct first.
Self-correct. Yeah. Right the ship.
Right the ship.
Get things right.
Yeah, but you should. If you see something, if I see another chaplain do something, then I need to go to my fellow chaplain.
Amen.
And say, I mean, that's what the scripture says. So if you find a brother in a fault, what do? You go to your brother. You don't go to the church. You don't go to the organization. You don't go whispering to other chaplains, other people. No, what you do is you go to your brother first, your fellow chaplain first, and you say, hey, I need to talk to you about this. This is what I saw. Did I see this correctly? Can you explain what happened, what was going on? Those are the conversations you need to have. That's a godly conversation. That's a brotherly conversation. And we've seen too many times people become maligned because they've misunderstood something. Somebody else misunderstood something. You don't want to be the type that sees something and does not go to your brother and go talk to someone else. Don't do that. That's wrong. So
I would go to them and I mean, if they made a boundary violation, something terrible, they slept with a client, they stole from a employer, I wouldn't turn them in personally, but I would tell them that if they don't speak to their endorsing agency, probably National Service Charity, or if they don't speak with their church, someone who can hold them accountable, then you're going to keep asking them until they do.
Yeah. And I think we're following the scriptures. Matthew 18, we're encouraging folks to do the right thing. We're going to our brother and sister in love because we care about them. We care about the organization. We care about the work of chaplaincy. And so this is what we do. And we encourage them to right the ship.
There you go. Yeah. And again, I want to just go blabbering, especially to the employer. I would tell the individual to seek help and make an admission of guilt to either their endorsing agency or their endorsing church.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that you'll keep asking until they do.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do it for them.
Yeah.
Because it's their information. It's their story to tell.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right. That wraps up that lesson.
Okay.
Here we are. Yeah. We're back. We're back. Last lesson. So we're doing a summary of this last lesson, which is the skill set of a chaplain.
Yeah.
So the number one skill set of a chaplain is to be able to answer the question about your own faith. Yeah. It doesn't the scripture say something about being ready to give an answer to the hope that lieth within you?
Yep.
So I'm going to ask Tom, just act, kind of like a secular environment, right? We're not in church. Asking Tom, why is it that you believe in Jesus?
Wow. So I would begin to share part of my testimony, and I would go on and I would
Mm-hmm.
share a snippet or a portion of my testimony, and the hope that I have because of that testimony and what God's done in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I'd start. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
In the video, when we did this lesson,
Mm-hmm.
I actually tried to answer the question 2 or 3 different times.
Okay.
And every time I did, I felt really good about it. But when I watched myself on the video, I thought that I can do that better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it comes down to each one of us working on this, picturing an unconverted, non-church person,
right,
asking us the question,
right,
you're a chaplain?
Yeah.
Why do you believe all that stuff?
Right. And I think in my lesson that I talked about you should have testimonies. You should have testimonies that you've rehearsed in your life, in your own heart, in your mind, and expressed through verbally, that you've done over and over in your mind and your heart, and that you're ready to share, because these different testimonies will be able to be used as you need it in situations as a chaplain and as a minister. So having those testimonies kind of logged in your mind and your heart, when somebody does ask you a tough question, well, how do you believe all this stuff? Why do you believe all this stuff? Whatever the question is, you've got an answer. And so it's super important that we have our testimony, ready to go. So
I'm not pastoring a church right now. I'm a member of a church, and the church where I'm currently visiting says it this way, that they believe because it makes them better, and it makes them better at life. So it makes them a better husband, a better citizen, a better worker. It makes them a better father. I mean, I believe because it just makes me better. Just so much about the Christian faith makes me better at just being kind and loving and patient and tender and you can say humble, so humble, but more compassionate.
Right.
Just having a humility in your heart, in your relationship with others,
Right.
Wanting to serve like Christ has served us, wanting to love like Christ has loved. Right. I mean, there is a transforming human experience that happens when you become a follower of Jesus that is so positive within the human experience that even if you don't believe, you would almost wish it was true because of the beauty and the way it transforms and makes people easier to be around and nicer.
Yeah.
And nicer.
Yeah.
And it makes families better, makes them more stable. They start hopefully getting control of their money, and their anger and the drama in the home goes down. I mean, there's so much about the Christian faith that just is great.
Amen.
And so the church that I'm a part of right now has an answer, just kind of a memorized answer that it makes me better, and it makes me better at life.
Yeah.
And then
that's good.
But guys, every person needs to answer that on their own.
Right.
And you need to have something in your own heart that makes sense to you, so that when you say it, you look convincing in your facial expressions and your eyes. They don't lie, look like you're lying, and you're just so that it fits you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got to think this through well, because people are going to ask you.
Sure they are.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Really? You believe that?
I think it's like whenever we start talking about the ministry of reconciliation, whenever we start talking about that stuff, my face, I just get happy.
Yeah.
I feel it. I feel it in my heart. I feel it. And you can see it on my face, and you can see the joy that I get in sharing that, and I feel it. And so anyway, but when you're sharing that story, it's got to be real.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be real. And so anyway, but you guys will get that worked out. You'll get your testimonies, and you'll get those things worked out in your heart, and it'll come across as real. And that's why it's so important to have that fresh relationship with God.
Yeah. Another way to answer the question is to make sure that you relate to somebody as you're answering it from their point of view. So if they say, there's no way I could ever believe that, then you say something to the effect of, even if it wasn't true, I would want it to be true, because I would love to believe that God sent his only begotten son, and that he died for my sin, and that he resurrected and invites me into a resurrected life, and that he gives me the power to transform and to put aside all the things that hold me back in relationships and in life. There's so many ways to answer this, guys, but it comes down to you placing your eyes upon the Lord Jesus Christ, investing time and energy in your own personal spiritual life, in your relationship with God, so that when you speak of how God loves you and how that makes a transforming difference in your life and how God's love flows through you to others, that it just becomes compelling, so that your answer draws them to be reconciled to God.
Yeah. Amen.
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 Okay.
I love it.
Now, guys, we took a stack, about 30 books on chaplaincy, and we went through all of it, chapter by chapter, looking to answer the big ideas for each one of these lessons. This is the last big lesson, the skill sets of a chaplain.
Yep.
The number one skill set that you have to have ready to employ in your ministry as a chaplain is your testimony. That's it. It's number one. You better be ready to talk about Jesus in a secular organization as you bear the presence of God and as you begin to help people see their spiritual needs be met.
Yep.
Tom, what's the second one?
Prayer. Got to be willing to pray. You got to get outside yourself. If you're not used to praying for folks, you need to ask people for permission to pray for them, but you need to be ready to pray for them. Speak words of life towards them and over them, and speak, but pray with these folks. Most definitely be ready to pray for these folks. Yeah.
No doubt, man. Someone asks you to pray,
man,
you promise them right there, I will make that a matter of prayer.
Yeah.
And then you say, can I pray for right now?
Yeah, that's right. It's like, I will definitely be praying for you, but can I go ahead and pray for you right now? And folks will say, yes, please do. Yeah. I mean, they want you to. They'll appreciate your boldness to ask them. And as a chaplain, you need to have that boldness, that confidence that you're ready to pray for folks.
Those are the best opportunities to bring the presence of God, whole presence of God, the whole package,
Amen,
right into that secular space.
Amen.
And to pray. Everybody sees you doing it. Everybody's going to know that you prayed out loud for that person right there in their office, or right there in the break room, or in the hallway. Yeah. Guys, that is where you earn your credit as a chaplain, is when you bow your head and you pray for somebody and everybody can tell this person knows God.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yep. Amen.
It's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So you first promise to pray, then you ask to pray right then. And what do you do after that? You follow up. When someone asks you to pray, they assume that you are going to keep your word.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Again, remember what we talked about as far as taking notes. You pray with someone, you pray, you take notes. I prayed with Sister Susie about, and you keep those private notes private, but so you're reminded to ask about, next time you see them there in the break room or wherever, that you're able to ask them, how are they doing? You follow up, that's part of it.
Oh, your mom's in the hospital? Oh, you asked me to pray for her. I forgot.
Oh, that's not good.
Guys, don't let that happen to you.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen to you.
That's
how embarrassing.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen. Yeah. All right. So the biggest thing, testimony. Second, be ready to pray. Third, be ready to quickly perform a spiritual profile.
Yeah.
Spiritual profile.
Yeah.
Yeah. You help me put this together.
Yeah,
like,
we
how many
did.
was there? A dozen?
There's a lot. There was a whole lot of different profiles. These are like tools, but that you can use. But these spiritual profiles that we're using to try and uh, get a better sense, better feel for who this person is sitting across from us. Anyway, it took a bit of time to whittle it down and to formulate it. But anyway, we got something that we like.
We have something we like. It's a little, it seems a little goofy, kind of juvenile, but every one of them did.
Yeah.
Every one of them did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
All
did.
of them had this little mnemonic
Yeah.
way of remembering the steps, the 3 or 4 or 5 questions in the spiritual profile assessment tool.
Right.
So some of them were like faith or fact or hope.
Yeah.
Some of them were words we couldn't even remember. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's a lot of goofiness. But okay, so we've boiled them all down into 4 questions with 4 letters, and the letters spell corn, C-O-R-N, and I know it's goofy, but it's going to help you remember.
Yeah.
What's the first one, Tom?
C.
Corn
for community.
You want to ask somebody?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, you're talking to somebody in a secular space, and they know you're a chaplain. They know you've been hired to come in and meet spiritual needs, bring the presence of God into that secular space and meet spiritual needs. And so one of the first things you need to know about each person you're talking to is their spiritual profile.
Yeah.
So a very simple tool, 4 questions. The first thing you're going to ask is, well, hey, good to meet you. Can I get a spiritual profile on you? Great. Are you part of a spiritual community? How more basic is that question? That's like the most basic question. Yep. That's the first question.
Yep.
Are you part of a spiritual community?
Yep. They might say, what do you mean, spiritual community? Well, like church. Is there a church that you're involved with? Or
yeah.
Is there another, is there some kind of organized faith community that you're involved with?
Yeah, you're not trying to pigeonhole them. You're not trying to put them in a box.
Right.
You're trying to figure out if they're a part of a faith group. And if they are, the second question, how does that faith group operate?
Right.
That's the O, community. And then how do they operate?
Right.
How do they support one another?
That's the big thing about operate is how do they support one another? How does that community of faith support this person? How do they help support that organization? Are they involved?
You want to earn some gold stars as a chaplain? Know the faith organization they're a part of, the faith community, and how they operate. And when the person is in a situation where they could really benefit from the support that their faith organization provides, you remind them, or you connect that person back to their faith organization and their faith community. You facilitate that, you encourage that. They will love you for that because they'll assume, man, this guy really understands me spiritually. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. The third letter in corn is R, and you want to ask, you want to find out. Go ahead.
Yeah. What does this faith group require?
Do they require that I wear a head covering, full head covering? Jewish community?
Do they
Quaker community, I think, wears head coverings.
Yeah,
some do.
Not the newer Quakers.
Not the new ones.
Yeah, but I mean, are they required to pray? 5 times a day? Are they required
Absolutely.
to? What are the different things that's required of them?
Are there food restrictions?
Right.
Yeah, because if there's food restrictions and you're in a secular organization and there's an event coming up and that person won't be able to eat any of the food that's being prepared because it's all, let's say, pork, and you are aware that this person is part of a spiritual community that has that operates a certain way in the way that they support each other with certain restrictions, then in anticipation of them participating at that secular event, a corporate lunch or something, you as the chaplain can make sure that they have a special meal put together just for them in a way that won't embarrass them, allows them to participate. You can quietly put together a plan and make sure that they're taken care of. And your credit will rise.
Yeah.
You'll be great. Your respect will rise, which means when you talk about your faith, when they ask, and you have a chance to interject to help meet their spiritual needs and talk about Christ, guys, they're going to listen more.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right. So what's the last question?
Spiritual needs. N for needs.
Yeah, you want to ask a general question to end the conversation. First, are you part of a spiritual community? Second, how does that community operate? How do you all support one another? Third, are there any restrictions or requirements that that would help me understand kind of your involvement, your expression of the way that you express your faith? And the last one is meant to be just open-ended. Are there any spiritual needs that you'd like to make me aware of, or that you'd like someone to help you with? Yep. Just wide open. Just gives them a chance to talk about anything in their heart and mind.
So,
yeah, you ask those 4 questions, you'll have a spiritual profile in that individual. First chance you get in a quiet space, you make some notes, and now you are prepared as a chaplain to minister to them better than you were before.
Indeed. So this is just another tool. There'll be other tools that we'll be giving to you later on as you become a board certified chaplain. There'll be other tools that you'll be able to put in your tool belt and to help you out. But this is just an introductory tool that you can do so you can get to know who this person is and where they've walked spiritually. So it kind of helps you get started there.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's the end of the lessons. That's all the stuff that we have that we wanted to review over the last part of the course. And now we'd like to just mention a few things that we'd encourage you to do next.
Right. So some of the next steps for you after finishing this course, this 8-lesson course, you'll need to go to the website, and we put on there's a link on there where you can get your background check, your national background check. You'll be taken to a website. You'll put in your information. You'll pay for it. It's third party, but you're gonna send that completed report to us, the national background check.
It's funny. I did the background check and it didn't come back immediately. I had to wait 2 days for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they found something on there that I didn't know about. Made me nervous.
Yeah.
I was like, why is it taking so long to get my background check?
Yeah.
And it wasn't immediate like I expected it. But it took about 2 days, and they sent me an email that it was available, and I logged back on, and I was able to download a PDF. And really just the first page, there's like 26 pages for me, and the first page is all National Service Charity needs. So so you can email it to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and nobody's making any money on that. That's just something you have to do.
Yeah.
And every endorsing agency is going to ask you to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So this is just part of the process.
Yeah. And it's a nationwide check. And, let's just say you do have something on your background check. It's not a given by any stretch that it would exclude you from becoming a chaplain. But what it would do is at least we get to have that conversation about something that would come up on there. So we just, again, I just want to say it's not going to exclude you from service as a chaplain with visiting chaplains or getting endorsed from NSC necessarily, but it gives us the opportunity to have the conversation.
Absolutely. If you're pursuing chaplaincy, then I highly suspect that regardless of what shows up on your background check, which is, guys, it's only a criminal background check. So you'd have to have a criminal record for anything to show up on the background check.
Right.
So don't stress. I stressed because I'd never had one printed for myself. I was buying it for myself to see it. And then I just finally realized it's no big deal.
Yeah.
All right, so the second part is once you get your background check done, there's a chaplain application, and we'll make sure that this is online for you to fill out. And this is part of your preparation for your interview with National Service Charity. All of these steps after the course are really only for those who are looking to become a board certified chaplain. This is a pre-certification course. So if you have completed the course and it was your intention to become a chaplain, maybe you've changed your mind. Maybe we've talked you out of it for some reason. But if you're not looking to become a chaplain, thank you for taking the course, and I hope it was helpful. If you're looking to become a chaplain, first thing is a background check. Second thing is the chaplain application. It's about 4 pages. Shouldn't take more than 20, 30 minutes to fill out. And then what's the third step?
Third step is after you turn in your application, you get your background check done, then schedule an interview with NSC for your final interview. So
all those instructions are online on the website, and there's detailed instructions. Shouldn't be any trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, wrapping up, I just want to say we're very excited visiting chaplains. We're very excited about what all the scope of things that we've got coming, and we encourage you, if you feel like you'd like to become a board certified chaplain and you want to work with visiting chaplains, well, we're going to be very excited for what we've got in the future. We've just got some really exciting things that we're putting together. And
so, Tom, what's the last step?
Last step is schedule your interview with National Service Charity.
All these instructions are online. You've probably seen them. It's pretty simple to get your background check, to fill out the application, which will also be online. Not just a PDF you can download, but you can fill it out online at National Service Charity, and then schedule an interview with them. I believe they have an email for that.
Yep. So if you have any questions, you please let us know. You can email us at support@visitingchaplains.com. So I guess the last thing I want to say is just that we're very excited about the things that are coming for visiting chaplains and for our chaplains. We're very excited about the ministry opportunities that are going to be able to happen in the corporate setting and resident facilities and people's homes. Anyway, we're just super excited about this going forward, and we hope you'll take the journey with us even further. So.
Yeah, we believe God's doing something amazing and opening up new space for ministry within secular space for the church.
Amen.
I mean, guys, just picture God working in the world to open up new space in secular organizations for the church to come in and to bring the ministry of reconciliation, the kingdom goals of bringing people into a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's what God is doing. Amen. And you're able to be a part of that. We're being a part of this thing. It's not something that we have come up with. These weren't our ideas. This is a movement God has been putting together in a number of different organizations, actually, and we're simply helping facilitate that. We're so excited to be working with you. You're watching this video because you've pretty much finished the course.
Right.
So we probably already know your name.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to continuing our relationship with you in ministry for the Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Amen.
Congratulations on finishing your course.
Yeah, congratulations.